Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
And we're here on a Friday for the Texans Squad Show as we creep closer and closer by the second to 2025 training camp. And it can't get here any quicker. I am Michael Connor. We have Iisha Morrison. We have John Hickman and Stan Norfleet. We are your squad, as we like to put it, every Tuesday and Friday, 6 p.m. We are with you talking Houston Texans football as, yes, we are, again, in the middle of the dead period. But that's okay. We're here to keep you company in that dead period. Of course, you need to be listening to this show every week, but you also need to be listening to John, by the way, with the Locked On Texans podcast, the daily podcast here on this channel and anywhere that you get your podcast. Always great work there.
Great work.
Let's go ahead and well, first of all, hello to all of you. It's great to see your faces. It feels like it's been a week, but it's only been a couple of days. Let's get into something tonight. We've got a few things to get into tonight, whether it is the Texans not signing Jaire Alexander and the price tag that we ended up seeing on him, some more Nick Caley conversation, maybe some players who could win some awards for the Texans this season. I do want to ask this, though, to start, because, I like to tell you, I like to find some positives every once in a while. So we don't have to be mad about something. We don't have to argue about, the receiving core or something.
Of course we do.
We're going to argue. It's okay. It's what we do. But tonight, I want to know from you guys, looking ahead to the 2025 season, who do y'all think is going to be the biggest surprise on the Houston Texans football team? And I'm just going to go in my order. We're going to go to Iisha to start things tonight.
You hate me.
No, I don't.
If you don't
I'm
like
just going in.
me,
I'm literally going in. I'm going in a square. It's a big square
Okay.
tonight.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you asked earlier, and I was trying to think about it. I was just like, who can I? I'm gonna go with Dalton Schultz. I'm gonna hope that Dalton Schultz understands the moment, understands, he's looking for another contract, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's not. Is he?
This is year two of the
year
extension.
Year two?
It's year two of a 3-year extension. But I think the guaranteed money, the healthy portion of it, I think concludes after this year. But anyway, it's
a big that's what I thought. So this is a money year for him. Obviously, kind of had a down season last year. Doesn't sound like he's played up to expectations at this point. I'm gonna say that he comes through and plays better this year and helps bolster that tight end room, especially since you guys have, because the Texans have gotten some younger guys on the back end. Maybe he feels some fire to him.
And by the way, his money, Stan, you are right for Dalton Schultz. His money. Yeah, he's got a cap hit next year of 14, but the dead cap would only be $2.5 million. So he's a prime candidate.
They can move out for him. So I'm sure if I know Dalton, how I remember Dalton, he knows that.
Oh,
and
in case of Dalton, that's actually was on my list. That's not the one I would select, but we got to remember with so much conversation about Nick Caley coming over to the Texans from the Rams, that's his area of expertise.
Tight end.
Is that tight end room, formerly being a position coach there at 2 different stops. So maybe Nick Caley can sprinkle some magic dust and get Dalton looking back to how he looked in 23.
Mm-hmm. That's mine. So
Aisha's rolling with I got tight ends on the brain because I'm going to tell you mine in a second. And it's not Dalton Schultz. Yeah. Stan, who do you got?
Oh man, a few candidates, I guess, for the sake of conversation, and maybe this is just me. I'm going to delve in that hope bucket. I really like Xavier Hutchinson, and I just think a guy that was a first-team All-America coming out and didn't run as fast as. What's the problem?
You're gonna just dog on the Iowa. You're gonna go to the other Iowa State receiver so you could just dog on the other one.
You're a hater.
I wasn't even gonna mention Higgins and Noel. What I was gonna say about Xavier Hutchinson is first-team All-America. You led the Big 12 in receptions. You played with Purdy for a little bit there. I do believe in we haven't seen it translate on Sundays in a Texans uniform for one reason or another. And when you think about the number of injuries to the wide receiving core, Robert Woods in and out the lineup, Steph Diggs, Tank Dell, and others, the opportunities have been there, but he just hasn't been able to put it all together. I come from a scouting philosophy and a personnel philosophy of you give players 3 years to show you who they're going to be. Well, this is 3 years for Xavier Hutchinson. And speaking of those two rookies, it's got to do something to be a big brother and to look and see your young homies. You know, you got the YNs. I'll stop there. You got
no, we can't say that.
They got to motivate you to be the best. Somebody's on the bubble. Jared Wayne, John Mechie III, and Xavier Hutchinson may be competing for that last and final. Maybe Berrios is in there for that final wide receiving spot. I just believe there's something to Hutch there that this might be the year that it comes together for him in this new offense.
It's an interesting pick. I'll give you that.
Very interesting.
Y'all got Hutch getting cut?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Side note, I do want to shout out Jerry Shaplinski, coach tight ends with the Raiders. He also has a good background with coaching tight ends. And so, honestly, my pick was going to be Dalton Schultz. I've been adamant on he's a vet in that room. He's he's a vet in terms of skill position. Like, I think out of all of the skill position players, he may have been in the league the longest, tight end and wide receiver combined. Was it ninth highest tight end salary in the NFL this year?
Yeah, ninth.
He's gonna be counted upon a lot, and I do think with both Nick Haley and Jerry coming over, they should be able to find a way to get the most out of him. He's not George Kittle. That was an issue last year, trying to get him to block out there on the edge. But since Dalton Schultz is off the board, Xavier Hutchinson was not going to be my pick. I am this is a tough one, but I'm going to look at Henry T.
Like it.
Henry Tortora. I thought that last year he really blossomed. I think he grew a lot. Having Azeez Al-Shire and D'Amico Ryans in his ear helped him in terms of better dropping back in coverage. Was not as much as a liability in his, that he was in his first year. I better in that area. And I also think with him just continuing to be out there, the availability, which something we haven't seen from Christian Harris, I think that gives him the edge to really, by the time we get to the end of the year, he may be in that conversation of the best linebacker on the team.
I really like that pick. And if I was going to go defense, he was on my board.
It's crazy. We never talk about the defense on this show, by the way. It's
really don't.
It's always the
You know what? We're going to in just a minute because we're going to talk about a guy that they didn't sign. And if we have any issues with that and also who they officially did sign, I also wanted to talk about, I don't know if you get some of the reaction to the Texans signing a guy that I don't know. I'm going to save it for a second. I'll save it for a few seconds and ask y'all your thoughts on it. For me, in terms of tight end, I know that one of the people that I've talked about on this show so far has been Brevin Jordan because I like Brevin Jordan a lot. He's a freak of an athlete, and I just love fast tight ends. When you got a fast tight end, I just want to see you use them. But I'm going to go Cade Stover. Picking Cade Stover is the biggest surprise. Because you want to know what? I'm making my bold prediction for the show right now. I bet you Dalton Schultz isn't with the Texans halfway through the year.
Ooh.
Like a deadline move or a release?
Okay.
I think he's done. I didn't like how he played. I didn't like how he moved. I thought he looked slow. I'm just thinking this is a guy that's a little bit older in the tooth. The young guy's going to come in. Cade Stover's one of them. Going to get an opportunity. Probably going to outplay him. Here you go. That's my.
So how do we feel about Brevin Jordan?
Do what?
How do we feel about Brevin Jordan in this unit? He's still young, out of Miami. And I talked to somebody earlier today about this. If Brevin Jordan can catch a defender on an angle, I trust him to outrun that defender with his foot speed. So how do we feel about Brevin?
People when you're in the tub.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
it's hard to outrun defenders when you're in the cold tub.
So are we expecting for like the competition in that tight end unit to maybe shift in terms of like the pecking order, or should the expectation going into the season be Dalton Schultz?
Maybe it's just me. But like that tight end room, that's probably the room over there, other than quarterback, that has the least amount of parity. It's Dalton Schultz, and it's a wide margin before you get to number 2. And a healthy Brevin Jordan, who I like, mind you, when he's available. Cade Stover, I didn't see, and it's tough. It's your rookie year. You're a mid-round pick. Yeah, you played at a big program. I get all that. But I thought I would see a little bit more from Stover. There were points, especially late. Perhaps that was Bobby Slowick putting him in position not to win. I just didn't see Cade Stover. And then we'll see what Luke Lachey, coming from a good Iowa program in terms of the production at the tight end spot, as Iisha knows. So I'm like, look, it's Dalton and Irv Smith. We got to give Irv Smith Jr., a guy that has been in the league for a while, formerly of the University of Alabama. But I just think it's Dalton. And if Dalton ain't the guy, they're going to go have to find somebody off the street or make a deal for somebody. I just think the disparity is wide in that room.
And it sounds like it can't be, given the system that they're trying to put in place. You need guys that can block on the outside. You need guys that can, help block in line and stuff as well. But with Dalton, this is interesting because listening to you, John, and I say this with respect, you sound like how the folks with the other team in Texas sounded like towards the end of his tenure.
How was that? Like hopeful or?
No, I'm saying that you sound like it's just so much uncertainty. There's inconsistencies with this gentleman and things that happen with him. And then also too, how does he adjust to a new system? How does he adjust to new coaching? He is opinionated. So
I think for me, man, I just look at Schultz. Schultz is a guy that, and I hope
why
this
you
isn't
laughing,
taken the
Stan?
wrong way.
Sorry, I
don't
didn't
know.
mean to interrupt.
I don't know how much of the leadership role, like he'll take on. So that's a mark in that area. It's kind of like Laremy Tunsil, man. Like when you're out there, where's your effort? And there were times last year where I would just see Dalton Schultz just like quit on the top of a route or like
sound like the folks in Dallas,
lazy. And I mean, we talk about effort in terms of blocking. That was piss poor at times, and so excuse my language and what I'm saying, but for Schultz, he does need a bounce back year. He does need to come in with a little bit more fire under his tail. And listen, D'Amico Ryans moved on from Laremy Tunsil, and I think that was a big reason why. Like, he wants a nastier offensive line. He wants guys that's going to be a little bit more grittier. I wouldn't see a reason for Nick Cassera and D'Amico Ryans to not go out there and explore possible trade options, especially with an early bye week, by week 6. If you're still giving us the same thing from 2024, they may need to go ahead and move off from them.
I think y'all are wild.
No, but Stan, it sounds like you gotta keep them.
No, it's like talent.
We do understand that Dalton Schultz is a starting tight end for 85% of the National Football League.
So is Laremy Tunsil.
Dalton can play. I'm not saying he can't play. I'm saying as far as your tight end room, if he's setting the example, like if what you're saying, Stan, is that there is such a big discrepancy between he and the other guys as far as ability, that's a problem. And that means that the depth in this tight end room is not good enough, because the problem with Dalton Schultz that I always had was really good receiving, not the effort, like John just said, blocking, staying square, actually moving guys off their block. It was not something that he did consistently.
I'm not disputing that.
Well, what I'm saying is that
part.
I mean, okay. Well,
I'm simply saying, like, look, if Dalton Schultz is your starting tight end for 16 games, you're going to win the majority of those games pending the quarterback play and what the offensive line does. When you start having to go max protect and you're asking Dalton Schultz to be the last man in line, I think schematically that is a flaw. Now, they've hung Bobby Slowick out to dry. Bobby Slowick and former offensive line coach Chris Strasser. They've said those two were the reason that it didn't look like it did in 2023. I think Dalton is more 2023 than he was what he showed in 2024. But I'm not ready to move on from Dalton Schultz. But we'll see how he integrates into the system. Lastly, for me, MC, Henry Told, I'm a big fan. Going back to his days in Tuscaloosa, saw what he was at Tennessee. He has steadily gotten better, made a big jump from his rookie year to the second year in the National Football League. I just think when you look around and there's Azeez Al-Shire and there's EJ Speed, I just think by the time we settle into the actual rotation, I don't think there's just going to be enough snaps for Toto to be that guy, to be impactful. And I can't rule out Christian Harris when he gets healthy. All three of those linebackers I just listed are better than Toto from a
EJ Speed better than it.
Than
I don't think
Toto?
Toto-
Absolutely, without question.
I don't know where he comes off the field at. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's an every down guy.
Who?
EJ Speed.
Toto doesn't really excel in covering the number 2 and the number 3 coming in towards the middle of the field, and certainly in man coverage. He's limited athletically, but he's athletic enough to make plays for you. You can play winning football with Toto. He's not truly a thumper from a physical standpoint. That's not where he's going to excel, but that's not really the modern NFL. He's a guy, Henry Toto's superpower is in between his ears. He's going to be able to line up the front, be positioned where you're asking to be, and then at that point, it's just athletically him versus the opposition.
All right. Well, this whole conversation has changed my gears to tight end, and that's going to be something I look into a little bit more because Lord have mercy. If we running off of if and buts with Dalton Schultz, and there's no certainty on the depth behind him right now, is that not a problem to you guys? Especially with the conversation we've had about the receiving core in general. Like, you at least need to know that your tight ends can operate.
Yeah. So I do want to back it up by saying Dalton Schultz is the best tight end in that room.
Yes, I ain't nobody disputing that.
But what works in Houston's favor, I think, getting Brevin Jordan back, he is clearly the best blocking tight end out of that bunch. He's the most athletically gifted tight end out of that bunch. I'm going back to coaching. It's going to be about picking and choosing, determining, okay, this tight end fits better in this situation with this formation of what we're asking for compared to maybe the other tight end. For Dalton Schultz to be the lead man, what comes in question for me is based off of a little bit of 2023. I thought he was very good for Houston in 2023, but more so in 2024. What they want out of a full tight end, the best of the best in the NFL, that's not Dalton Schultz. We found out that more last year, but this year, hopefully they won't ask him to do things that are jeopardize him on the field.
I'm be honest, I don't know what Nick Caley wants on offense. They keep talking about a nasty offensive line. They keep talking about trusting CJ to make the protection calls and to facilitate the offense pre-snap from the line of scrimmage. But from a personnel dynamic, I haven't heard them actually give details on this is our preferred method. They talk about scheming it to be around people's skill set. But to address what you just said, Iisha, I think their lack of willingness to invest more than a 7th-round draft pick in Luke Lackey out of Iowa and expecting Brevin to be healthy and integrating Irv Smith Jr. in his second season with the Texans. I think they're telling you we're comfortable with Dalton. We paid Dalton. We expect him to look more like the 2023 Dalton. And I remind you, for whatever it is, Pro Football Focus says Dalton Schultz is the 13th best tight end in the league going into 2025. I think that's appropriately slotted.
Can I say something about the tight end position? I know we're going to move on. John, you were just talking about how you want them to use the tight ends and let them do the things they do well. I think that's what you were saying. Is like if they aren't that great, they're not that great blocking in line, don't put them out there. However, that's something we've seen with this position in general, though. I want to say the last 3-4 years, we have seen the receiving type tight end take a jump, I guess, and people are more interested in that. There's not that many tight ends that are coming out that can do both. Most of the time, it feels like it is more focused on for you to be a receiving type of guys because everybody want to pass the ball around. And if you have a tight end that can really be a receiving threat, it completely changes your offense. So a lot of teams are opting to just have a guy that's a receiver type guy because Dalton Kincaid couldn't block like that. Nobody cared because they saw what he was able to do when the ball was in his hand. So I am trying to kind of give grace also because it feels like the league in general, depending on what team you're on, is not only the run, teams that are really running the ball have tight ends that block well. Most of these other teams don't have guys. They're not asking guys to do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give him some grace.
And we will see exactly how Nick Caley deploys it. We'll get some Nick Caley discussion here in a bit as well. Let's go to the defensive side of things and the cornerback spot. We'll talk about that here in just a brief moment on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. First up, I want to tell you about FanDuel. NBA playoffs, well, they're about to wrap up. There's only one game left. But still, every night it delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Well, and also, MLB season is heating up now, so get in on that action. A lot of unforgettable moments from walk-off homers to no-hitters in the making. There's no shortage of drama on the diamond as well. And again, no better time to get in on the action than right now with FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to get in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You head over there right now and look. You can get yourself a $5 bet, and if it hits, well, guess what? You can get up to $200 in bonus bets. How awesome is that? New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, as I mentioned. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's a Squad Show Friday here on the Locked On Texans YouTube page live, Locked On Texans, anywhere that you get your podcast. I'm Michael Connor, Iisha Morrison, John Hickman, Stan Norfleet. We're with you every Tuesday and Friday talking Houston Texans football. We've gone through who we think is going to be our biggest surprise in 2025 for this football team. So now let's go to the defensive side of the football. Look, there's not a lot of news that's going on right now with really any team because we're in the dead period unless something bad happens. Unless you're Shadur Sanders and just want to speed all over Cleveland.
Michael,
that's about
please.
the only news.
Oh, my God.
Michael, please.
I mean,
He wasn't even
look,
gonna
I'm
talk
just-
about that.
I'm just saying.
I'm not mad
That's
at you, Michael.
the only thing that's in the news. It's literally it. I mean, just don't
Yeah.
speed. Right? Don't
Look at
speed.
Michael.
Between that and the Bengals contract negotiations,
Yeah.
which we discussed.
That's about it. There's literally not much going on.
Yeah.
There was one thing this week. Jaire Alexander signs with the Ravens. And it's not a very, what was it, $3-4 million total for a year?
Some
$4
pennies
million
and quarters.
with another $2 million in incentives. 1 year, $4 million, up to $6 million.
Okay, so look, we did not get a lot of in-depth coverage, I felt like, or talk of who was really in the mix for the guy. It moved semi-quickly. I don't know. Maybe I missed if he went and visited with other teams or whatnot, but he signs with the Ravens. He's buddies with Lamar Jackson. They played at Louisville and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've talked about the Texans, cornerback spot. It's great at the top. We question the depth of it. They do sign Damon Arnett this week, the former Houston Roughneck now, the former first-round pick. We've talked about his rap sheet not being so great. I was a little surprised at how hot and bothered people were about them signing a guy who might not even make it out of camp. But y'all can go in on that if you want. I just was a little weirded out by it. But what do you guys think about Alexander signing for that little, considering even though he's hurt all the time, the player that he has been? And do we even think the Texans were interested at this point? Stan, we'll go with you to start this one.
Yeah, I feel some type of way about it, and I think it was a missed opportunity. I heard Aaron Wilson, a friend of mine who's on the beat for the Texans with KPRC2, he was on a YouTube post where he says, and I quote, "The Texans weren't in on Jaire Alexander." And a man that was scheduled to make $17 million, which created the impasse with the Packers. Yes, he's missed half the time over the last 2 seasons or so, but you're talking about a skill set of one of the elite corners in the game when he's on the field. For him to be on the market for 1 year, $4 million when, as Aaron reports, my hometown Carolina Panthers were willing to pay more money, he went to someone that he thought somewhere that needed his services. The Ravens were next to last in the league in terms of passing yards allowed. And I look at this and go, and I'll come back to it once you guys give what you think. But if he's good enough for the Ravens, he's certainly good enough for the Texans. And to hear that the Texans were not in on him at $4 million, and yes, I understand there is a salary cap. Texans at approximately $15 million. There are 6 teams with fewer cap dollars than the Texans, but there are enough young people like Stingley, like Nico, that you can, restructure the deal to find a couple $1 million. That's not going to make or break the bank. I was disappointed to hear a guy like Jaire Alexander stays or goes to the AFC, comes to the AFC, and we know what Baltimore has been. I just have issue with Nick Caserio not kicking tires and getting the deal done.
I'm not mad at that, man. I'm not mad at that thinking, simply because Jaire isn't just another, like, the conversation we were having for Houston was, okay, do they need to invest in a CB3? A healthy Jaire by far would be, technically a CB2, but he'd be a starter alongside of Derek Stingley. Yeah. So to be upset that the Houston Texans didn't really inquire on Jaire, I think that's a fair feeling. I think that inquiring at least shows for the Houston Texans just how far they're willing to go to be a real Super Bowl contending type of team. But I also think this move speaks towards the confidence that they have in sophomore cornerback Kamari Lassiter. Now, I'm not justifying that. I think Kamari had a great rookie year. I think he is going to be able to build on that rookie year. I love Kamari Lassiter. I love what he brings on the field, and I like what type of player that he is. But for Houston, it feels like each of the last couple of seasons, they've lost somebody important in that backfield, in the DB room. Mm-hmm. They lost Stingley in 22 for some games. They lost him again in 23. Yep. He came back and was probably the best cornerback on the back end of the 2023 season in the NFL. But then they've lost guys like Desmond King at times. Their MO is they're going to lose a player or two in that DB room. And so Jaire gives you probably the best premium insurance that you need for that cornerback room. And again, when healthy, I can't say that Kamari Lassiter is better than Jaire when healthy. I can only go based off of Jaire isn't on the field a lot. I would like to add maybe Jaire just wanted to go to Baltimore.
That's where I was thinking.
What Nick Caserio has to find. I'm sorry, Iisha. Caserio's got to find the money, persuade him to come here instead.
But no, so if other teams were willing to pay more, my thought process is maybe Jaire says, you know what, I just want to go play with my boy again. And that is probably the team he feels the most comfortable playing with. And he's also going to be probably their starter come week 1.
No.
Wouldn't say he couldn't have beat out Kamari Lassiter, but he may just want to go to Baltimore.
Go ahead, Iisha. I'll come back. Go ahead.
No. Chime in. I'm chilling.
So, look, few times in my life I've been presented with a professional opportunity that I just couldn't turn down. It is incumbent upon the general manager of a team that has Super Bowl aspirations to put the best talent on the field possible. Agreed. Albeit fitting the system and culture that is in place by the head coach. To tell me $4 million versus the essentially 1.1 that I believe Damon Arnett is scheduled to make as a minimum salary, a vet minimum, I'm like, all right, for $3 million, you're not going to get a guy of Jaire Alexander's taste. Okay, so then you say, Stan, well, it really wasn't $3 million. It really would have taken us $5 or $6 million. Okay, you get, for everything that you just said, John, the last 2 years, what if something happens to Sting again? What if something happens to Lassiter?
I'm not against you on that. No, to look at the decision to not inquire.
That's where I'm at.
No. And that I agree. That I would say, okay, Nick, you know that kind of like you did with the wide receiver position this year. They got a lot of insurance. It may not be like top name insurance, but that room from top to bottom has a great deal of depth compared to the cornerback room, I don't know if we're ready to see Kamar Lashley to be CB1 if Stingley goes down. Or I'm not sure if we're ready for any of these other cornerbacks like a Jalen Smith, who they drafted out of USC, to be CB2 if something happens with Lassiter. So I agree with you 100%. They should have inquired. I'm saying maybe Jaire just wanted to go where he wanted to go. And that's on Jaire. That's not on the Texans. So
get a man an offer he can't refuse if. So guess what I'm saying? Let's combine both things you're saying, John, and the rest of you guys. If Nick Caserio said, look, I called, he just wanted to go to Baltimore, it's a different story. We can move on. But when we get a report that there was no inquiry and you see the $4 million, yeah, I choose Baltimore for less money as a former first-round pick instead of going to Carolina too. But if it's Baltimore for $4 million or it's Houston for $7 million, now we start, and only Jaire and his representation can determine that. Now, I really want to add this, Iisha. I don't know that Jaire Alexander is going to start because I made the point, depending on formation and who the opponent is in that given week, Jaire would be a starter because you're going to have some teams like a Cincinnati or like a Detroit, for example. They're going to play 3 receivers open as a starting formation. They're going to play 11 personnel. Okay, cool. You're going to need that third corner to essentially be a starter. So I look at this. Marlon Humphrey was a is a first-round corner coming off a rookie season in Baltimore. So they got a first round at one corner. Then they got 28-year-old Marlon Humphrey on the other corner. Excuse me, I'm trying to say Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins was a first rounder this past year. And then you got Marlon Humphrey, a former first round in his own right, and a second-team All-Pro on the other side. I don't know that Jaire is going to start. But based on formation and situation, it allows him to be efficient with the utilization of his body. So, excuse me, when you see the cornerbacks in Baltimore, Jaire, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Chidobe Awuzie, who Iisha will remember from his days with the star on his helmet, that's the best cornerback room in the league. Jaire coming to Houston would have made Houston in that same vein, one of the best cornerback rooms in the league. So again, maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. 17 weeks is a long time, but if it's good enough for Baltimore, and I get it, Lamar's his boy, I covered them both when I was on the ACC network, I just go Nick Caserio. The likelihood of finding somebody as a CB3, and I know we'll get into Arnett in just a second, that's just a missed opportunity for me. We'll find out. Lastly, this is according to Aaron Wilson. Stephon Gilmore, older, apparently is looking for more than $4 million a year. So he wants his money. And Rasul Douglas appears to be essentially headed to Miami. They've offered him an above market value deal. So those are 2 names that we talked about on this show.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with John that I think that maybe this was somewhere he just wanted to go. I will say that I did ask around a little bit. I even asked some folks down in these parts, and Dallas did not inquire either. It's multiple teams that did not inquire at all, which is still so surprising to me. So, which would bring me to my next point, which is, is there something that we don't know as normal folk that is going on? Or is this also too, one thing I do know about Jaire is that he a little fireball, which I don't care about. I want my corners to be, fiery. But is this a decision also too that people are opting to keep their locker room the way that it is, or anything like that? I don't know.
No, they just signed Damon Arnett. Hell no.
I mean, I'm not just talking about, but I'm not just talking about.
He could be.
I'm not just
he could
talking
be a
about the
recuperated
Texans,
man.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about Damon Arnett is the fact that, we have our reservations and things that have happened in the past and stuff like that. But it does seem like he has taken the time to kind of rejuvenate his career and try to get himself together. He seems a lot more level-headed, all those things. And this is what this game is for. We can't talk to people about the UFL and all this stuff, and then they go there and they show, better character, better play, whatever the case may be, and they can't come back to the league. So I'm not saying that I'm not open to the opportunity for him. It's his choice. It's his choices as he's with the team. I will say in regard to Jaire, though, all I'm saying is I asked at least 4 people from other teams. And there's multiple teams that didn't inquire. And given the fact that we were just saying it is Rasul Douglas, Stephon Gilmore, and Jaire Alexander are the best you're going to get on the market right now. And the fact that not more teams tried, I think it could be what John said, where maybe they just didn't have time. He went to the Ravens and he was like, hey, this is where I'm staying at, which is a big possibility. But it sounds like maybe there wasn't the push for him that maybe we expected, or teams didn't want to go after him this early. Because, dudes that's his age and had injuries and stuff, they don't want to have to do nothing until it's training camp for real. So I was surprised that he signed this quickly in the first place for his.
It sounds like the reports that I saw from Aaron Wilson was that Baltimore was in on him before he was even released by Green Bay.
And
they've
that
been
would
having
make
some
sense.
Conversation before. I'm gonna leave the Jaire conversation because I really want to talk about Damon Arnett too. Whenever y'all ready to get in that space, I just want to say with the Jaire piece, the Baltimore Ravens for the last 25 years have been one of the best front offices in the NFL. If there's anybody that we should trust with talent acquisition and human capital management, it should be the Baltimore Ravens, from Ozzie to Eric DeCosta and what John Harbaugh. Their program in Baltimore is one of the healthiest in pro football. If Jaire is good enough for Baltimore, then damn it, Caserio, he should have been good enough to be here in Houston. Facts.
Let's talk about the Damon Arnett aspect because you wanted to bring that up. Let's do that here in just a brief second. Let's take a quick time out of the Locked On Texans Squad show. It's Friday on a squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, Iisha Morrison, John Hickman. We're with you every Tuesday, Friday, 6 p.m.
I want to add a point.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I apologize. Is it far-fetched to think to ourselves, hey, maybe Houston is leaving themselves some salary cap space for an in-season trade? Stan, to your point, and this is something that kicked the whole squad show off, right? The rookies at receivers. How can we trust them as the season go on? And the offense having question marks with Nick Caley. They're going to probably need, if those guys don't step up, a for sure name and talented. We just talked about them. So Houston, with their question marks on the offensive side of the ball, they may look to leave themselves some wiggle room to make an in-season trade. You mentioned $7 million for Jaire. That would, Houston is sitting at what, 15 right now? 15, 14? Give or take. Maybe they don't want to spend that money because they are looking to just say, okay, we got some money.
Which is why you restructure
for a rainy day.
That's why you restructure contracts to create salary cap relief.
I mean, but if they could keep their 15, while also they're going to probably get a little bit more money after they make some preseason cuts. They're going to figure out the team that they have, so when they get to that point where they may have to dip into it, they already have the money put to the side.
So that's
$7 million for Jaire may be a number that was just unattractive for the Houston Texans front office.
So my understanding is most NFL teams, you keep anywhere from $10 to $12 million going into week one on reserve for the things that you're talking about, John. But you already, and there's no limit in terms of who you restructure. Brandon Holloman, I believe, is saying they already restructured almost everybody. You can restructure multiple people. That's not true. The Texans just gave Sting money. They can restructure that. So like, Joe Mixon can be restructured from the money they gave him coming into last year. There are several candidates. Azeez Al-Shaair is making real money. You can restructure that contract as well. So this notion that the Texans could not afford Jaire is just a misnomer by some of y'all over here in our comments.
Yeah, now, teams can no doubt afford anybody. I do think I'll look it up Stan, as you keep going. I do think that there's a little bit of a point to that they have restructured a lot to where some of these guys might not have the available space to convert some of it to cash at the moment.
No, like if you were to go down the list of dudes making money for the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz in the last year, his money, probably don't want to restructure him, give yourself some flexibility. So I'll take Dalton out of that. But Joe Mixon, Nico, Stingley, Azeez Al-Shaair is making real money. Daniil Hunter is making real money. Jalen Petrie just signed a new deal. That's 6 dudes making top half of their position group, probably top 10 money in the position group, and I didn't even really think that hard. The money is there to do it if you want to do it. And now I also want to point this out. Texans Tangents is in the comments as well. Let's be clear. Green Bay wanted Jaire Alexander back. This is about money. So he's at impasse, and there's a clash there in Green Bay. He decides, you know what, the hell with it, let me out. I'll go have a great year, win some games, maybe win a Super Bowl in Baltimore with my boy, and then I'll go back to the free agent market, still in my 20s going into the 2026 season, and you guys will have to pay for my former All-Pro services at that time. On a one-year rental, and that $7 million was just an arbitrary number that I made up. Caserio should have been in on these conversations, and I don't know where the dollars would have gone at that point.
Well, they got Damon Arnett instead, so let's get to Damon Arnett. What do y'all think that he's here? This guy got a real chance to make it. What do we think of the overall? Do y'all have any thought on the reaction from some that he's been signed?
I think whatever he gives you would be.
No, I'm singling out one guy. I know he's a Hall of Fame writer, but John McClain went nuts on it. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're going nuts on this, man. What are we doing here?
I mean, I think whatever he gives you, if he gives you anything, is going to be welcomed. And that's the end of it for me. This isn't a guy that can't play. He wasn't very heady when he was with the Raiders. He made a lot of mistakes. He was a little undisciplined in his play. Obviously coming off the 5 PBUs, 1 interception, 1 TD, 19 tackles with the UFL last year. He had a pretty good season with them. So it's not nothing to snuff at. And we are seeing teams do more scouting and recruiting from the UFL. The other team in Texas has 2 of them, and they're all pros. So I'm not saying that guys can't go there to play and develop and mature. So give him a shot, see what he can do. See if he just battles in training camp and stuff, and go from there. But I don't have a whole bunch of thoughts on it because there's not a whole bunch to go off of right now. Now, with Stan's points about Jaire, I just think that Jaire is like the situation, and this is the last thing I have to say about it, is sounds like Stan is saying there are not going to be that many opportunities to literally get better at that position in season. If you have the chance to do it, go do it. If that's what I'm hearing.
The likelihood, and who Texans Tangents is back at it again. Stan, all I hear about the Jaire piece are the positives. What is the negative? The negative is his personality can be aloof, but more so, it's the fact he's only been on the field 50% of the time. Well, from a cornerback 3 designation, I'm okay with that. The snaps add up. Now, it is what it is now. It's one under the bridge, and Damon Arnett, at least going into training camp, makes the 90-man roster. I think there were other options that were better players than Damon Arnett. We also have not heard Damon Arnett, at least I have not, linked to any other organization. So we know he tried out a couple weeks ago. He and another DB from the UFL, I believe it's from the Roughnecks, had a workout for the Texans. They elected to sign Arnett. Okay, I do believe that people deserve second chances. John McClain's point, listening to him on the Texans flagship, is that Damon Arnett has had 2, 3, some might say 4 chances given his rap sheet. You all will have to go look at that for yourself, those that are listening. I'm not casting any aspersions. I'm not saying the brother doesn't deserve to be in the league. I'm simply acknowledging from a skill set, he did make some plays in the UFL, but the bottom line is for the million, the 1.1 that he's scheduled to make on the veteran minimum, for that money, I would have rather put that towards a bid for Jaire or some other cornerback. I think the Texans could have done better. To me, this is the bargain bin type of deal for Caserio. Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. If you have to move on from him during camp or the preseason, you don't really lose anything, but it just brings us back to the fold of asking the question, if one of these 2 corners go down from Houston, then what? I don't know that Arnett makes me sleep more comfortably given that he's not here in Houston.
I'm kind of the same. I saw the legendary John McClain's article. Hey, man, this dude may not make it out of July.
Yeah.
And so training camp starts the 22nd.
22nd. Rookies and vets report 22nd.
22nd. He may not make it out of July. So they didn't break the bank on him. I think one thing that we should all agree on, Arnett doesn't make them better. He's a former first rounder for the Raiders when the Raiders were not hitting on any first rounders. He ran a 4.43 coming out.
What a shock. The Raiders picked a fast guy.
But look, that's John Gruden and Mike Mayock. That's not even the whole regime.
Jail, Michael.
So, but I brought the 40 up because the last time I saw him, while he was making plays in the UFL, he looked slower. So like he put a little bit extra weight on. He has mentioned that he's much more of a professional on and off the field now. I believe in second chances. Now for the Houston Texans, they had to get over some legal problems a few years ago, but that was active. He's past that. But again, man, I think this is a move that just helps with the depth and the competition. He may not make it out of July. We may get to a preseason game, and he's going to be playing up against NFL talent again, and he may not make it out after that preseason game. I have no real – I'm against it. I didn't think it was a good signing because I didn't think that he raised the floor. But we'll have to see, man. Tremont Smith, they brought him back. Miles Bryant, who normally plays inside. I don't know what Arnett brings, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what he brings. He's been out the league for a few years.
Yeah, y'all, the Texans just seem like they operating like I told you, baby. They got their coupons ready, holding up the line. They are not trying to spend a lot of money, and we've talked about this several times. And John, it could be what you were saying is that they're maybe trying to hold on to their pocketbooks for an emergency situations, but you could avoid the emergency situation possibly if you got ahead of these things. So it just seems like what we've been talking about is that they restructured a lot of guys and all these things. This quarterback contract coming up, got your DNs contracts coming up soon, and it feels like they're penny pinching because, like you guys have said, there's no reason why they shouldn't have at least tried for a Jaire or been in the running, or at least said that they were interested in him, given the fact that this cornerback room has its issues. Amazing when they're healthy, but you need depth there, proven depth there. So I'm just saying it seems like they coupon hunting. They supposed to be on TLC
we know this
or something.
The only other thing I want to add to go ahead, MC.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
The only other thing I'd add to that is because someone in the comments was an engineer. Engineer says, hey, if Sting goes down, we're screwed anyway. That's just not how an NFL team thinks. You can't go out there and operate that. D'Amico doesn't get paid for when everything is all right. You get paid for when you lose Tank Dell. You get paid for when Shaq Mason isn't playing like a guy you gave a contract extension to the season before. You get paid to plug holes, and every NFL team has them. So that's what makes the great coaches great. What I can tell you, the only other thing that comes to mind is when Caserio and D'Amico are having this same conversation that we're having, I think D'Amico is saying, look, man, we're going to apply so much pressure with this defensive front, especially with the addition, re-signing Folu Fadakasi and re-signing Rankins and what we've done with Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson continue to get better and better. Danico Archery avoiding suspension, bringing over, Darrell Taylor, bringing over a guy that maybe can add to the rush from an off-ball and on-ball standpoint. Maybe D'Amico and Caserio talking and they say, look, we're going to pinch pennies on the back end, but there's just going to be so much damn pressure up front. The ball is going to come out, and average DBs will look better because the rush and coverage go together. That's the only other thing that I can think. D'Amico's like, I got him.
It does point to a little bit of the negligence to not draft an outside cornerback. Now, I'm very eager to see what Jalen Smith can be for the Houston Texans. But when I watch him play, if I can give a quick comparison, is Jalen Petrie. That's a down-in-the-box guy. That's a nickel. That's an inside guy. Then they also backdoor and drafted Jalen Reed, who is a very versatile safety, but he's a guy that really makes a lot of plays when he's around the line of scrimmage. And so essentially they drafted two of the same guys, but they didn't draft a backup for an outside cornerback. And so you passed on that a little bit in the draft. Again, they could very well turn Jalen Smith to something that I may think he's not ready for just yet. And D'Amico Ryans, I call him DC because he's a hell of a development coach. So he could be an outsider. But to not do that in the draft, you went out there in the offseason and you brought in Ronald Darby, who retired, and I don't know how much of a threat he was going to be or help he was going to be. To look at Damon Arnett and this goes back to standpoint, and not look at Jaire Alexander, I wonder how much confidence do they have in those top two guys, and if that confidence will come back to bite them, because the same confidence that I'm hearing for the cornerback unit was the same confidence in the wide receiver unit, and at some point, all of those wide receivers went down. One went down for the rest of the season, midway through the year. Tank went down towards the end of the year. He was no playoff help. And Nico went down at the beginning of the year. So these are some of the things where I kind of question, like, when does it click to adequately bring in depth for anything that could possibly happen?
I mean,
they love. By the way, so we can go on. They love. We know this 1-year deals. That's the thing. They love 1-year deals. That's their thing. They are bargain hunters. And speaking of bargain hunters, they might have been a bargain hunter according to Stan on their offensive coordinator. No, I didn't say that out loud.
No.
There might not be some love for their offensive coordinator. Let's wrap up the show next with some conversation on that. It's the Texan Squad Show. Michael Connor, Iisha Morrison, John Hickman, Stan Norfleet, and Stan had one for us that we wanted to discuss to wrap the show up, as we got a few minutes here before we get on out. Some love for, now we've done a lot of Nick Caley talk. It's of course what it's the biggest topic of this football team. What is the offense going to look like? NFL.com, Bucky Brooks, who's great at what he does over there, does a lot of different work, NFL draft and whatnot, always on it. He has up an article that is 5 new quarterback play caller duos that NFL defense should be most worried about in 2025. And I'll give you the list real quick. Number 1, the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. Number 2, the Minnesota Vikings with J.J. McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell. Number 3, the New York Jets with Justin Field and some guy named Tanner Ingstrad. Tennessee Titans at number 4 with Cam Ward and Brian Callahan. And at number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars with that bum quarterback Trevor Lawrence and the ball cop Liam Cohen as the head court, whatever he's going to do. How is CJ Stroud, Nick Caley not on this list?
Okay, so Ben Johnson, we know what Ben Johnson going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be fair. We know what Ben Johnson is going to do. We have a blueprint of Ben Johnson's offense. Who was number 2? Who was number 2 on the list? MC?
That was Kevin O'Connell and McCarthy.
Okay, so
sorry, I got distracted by dogs barking.
Kevin O'Connell, we know what Kevin O'Connell is going to do. Now, granted, we don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to do. Number 3 was
Fields and Ingstrad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's just like we really
on his third team.
We don't know much about this OC. Is Justin Fields a better quarterback than CJ Stroud? Absolutely not. It's and you know what, to be fair, it's JJ McCarthy a better quarterback than CJ Stroud? Absolutely not. Now, Kevin O'Connell, you can make the case for OC and play calling because we know what he's going to do. 4 was Brian Callahan
and Cam Ward.
You can make the case because that may be like rookie excitement, but once again, those quarterbacks, Ward, McCarthy, Fields, and I'm going to throw T-Law on this one. Those guys are not better than C.J. Stroud at the quarterback position. The offensive coordinators that hold weight, O'Connell, Ben Johnson. Okay, we have a clear-cut blueprint of what those guys' offense is going to look like. I disagree with that. C.J. and Kaylee should absolutely be in that bunch for the simple fact that C.J. helped carry an offense that was broken last year.
Yeah.
Should he not get the nod over Justin Fields? 13 was benched. J.J. McCarthy, a rookie who got hurt last year, and at some point The talking point was, should Minnesota keep Sam Darnold over him or invest in him after the season he had? I think that's completely bogus, and that list is BS.
Well, it seems like, but even the quarterbacks that are listed on here are guys that people are still, I think people have, I know Stan has his conversations, but I think most people have seen the talent that CJ Stroud can play with when he has things around him. But Caleb Williams really, 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 really up and down for a million zillion reasons. JJ McCarthy, I feel like a lot of the guys on this list, Justin Fields, you just talked about him being benched. Cam Ward, we haven't seen what he can do yet. Trevor Lawrence has been through a million OCs. That's a whole nother story. Like, is this list being conformed of guys that you're looking like you're not expecting a whole bunch from just yet? Or Cam Ward? Like, I'm just saying, I don't know if CJ fits into the conversation that's being had here, if that makes sense. Because I know Stan doesn't consider him established, but maybe there's less CJ. Maybe there's less questions about him to them than these guys. Does it make sense?
And you know what? No,
I'm trying to word it right.
If that's the viewpoint, then I can understand it. But because
a lot of the guys seem like questions. Like, a lot of people have big questions about Cam Ward. He's the first round draft pick. There's excitement around him. As a matter of fact, they probably just put him on the list for the clicks. I think with Caleb Williams, like him getting Ben Johnson was probably the highest touted, OC last year that people were looking for. Now going to the Bears, who are trying to uplift that offense for the Bears. And then Justin Fields and the quarterback situations he's been in, people are really going to keep eyes on him, because now we're getting in the conversation of, is this him or is it every situation he goes to he can't? So I feel like these guys have more. And same with Trevor Lawrence. This is what his third OC. I think maybe this is more indicative of the quarterbacks, and that's maybe why CJ's not on the list. And that's just my assumption.
I'm not mad at that thinking. Okay.
So I can't see you guys, but I can definitely hear you. Hopefully y'all can see and hear me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
no Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm seeing what's happening.
We haven't been sniped yet.
All right. So look, Titus Howard and Jared Patterson and CJ himself, the team is singing the company line. They believe Nick Caley. CJ said, I'm believing people over systems. And they are trumpeting Nick Caley the exact same way they trumpeted for Bobby Slowick. We'll see. We don't play, they won't be in camp for another month. All right. But this article is about projection. And it caught my attention because it's obvious that CJ himself should be in that list, if not the most talented in that list, certainly the most accomplished on that list. But then are they saying they're dinging CJ but for not making it, or are they dinging the play caller?
It has to be play caller.
But
even if it is the play caller, that's why I question the New York Jets being on there, because they have question marks at both the quarterback and the play caller.
See, I don't know Inkstrad's background. I don't know much about him. I'd have to go do some homework on him. I know Nick Caley's background, and there's few things on there that suggest that he's going to be different than Bobby Slowick. The only thing he has that Bobby Slowick doesn't, and I think Bobby got a raw deal in the sense of how we discuss him. Bobby Slowick had a first-time head coach. He's doing the job himself for the first time, and a rookie quarterback. So now that CJ has been through the fire for 2 years, Nico has his money, he's settled in, and I'm just like, it's a little different deal. So I won't be surprised if Caley has some success, because I do believe CJ is that good. But to say going in that I'm just having this overall awesome confidence in Caley to just catapult CJ's career, I think that there's cause for pause there. And I will adjust my opinion when I see evidence of such. It shocked me in closing that they weren't on this list. But when you really start breaking it down, it's a lack of confidence in Caley. And we have to ask the question, is CJ more what he was in 23, or is he what he showed us statistically in 24?
Okay,
Who is the real CJ? I think the author of this article is asking that question.
Here's where I want to kind of I'm not going to say push back, but Nick Haley came from what offense?
Nick Haley came from McVay.
McVay. And also
he came from New England. Belichick.
At least 4 Super Bowls that he's been around. 3 in New England, 1 in LA. Passing game coordinator for the past 2 seasons, had his hands all over the offense, and we question what type of offense he's going to run, yet he's not on this list. Tanner Ingstrand, excuse me.
He was with the Lions. He was
with the Lions, passing game coordinator for the past couple of years, offensive quality coach, and his name is attached to
Ben Johnson.
Yeah. So why? And this is specifically for the list. Why does that name and that background and DNA? Why would we kind of be okay with him making that list when there's no Super Bowl coming out of Detroit? The guy that he's tied to, do we think Ben Johnson is better than McVay? I'm going to say no. So again, back to the list. There's no reason why if Justin Fields, who is nowhere near as good as CJ Stroud, is on this list, and an offensive coordinator with the same amount of questions surrounding him, background, what type of play calling will he bring, and also the Jets may have much more talent than the Houston Texans offensively, but same situation as Nick Haley. What makes them different?
Maybe we're looking at this list the wrong way.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying earlier.
I think it might just be a simple.
I like Iisha's point that she brought up. Maybe you look at the situations. Like, okay, Justin Fields. Hey man, if you don't get it right this year, it's a wrap.
I think that's the case with
most. To a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the case with most of the guys on the list. I mean, it feels like the Texans are often kind of underdogs, or kind of often looked over and stuff. So maybe that this is just par for the course. And
well, I'm actually interjecting, or I'm going to present a different point. The title of the article is 5 new quarterback play caller duos defenses should be most worried about in 2025. So it's really the emphasis I'm asking is maybe they're saying that's CJ Stroud. Defenses are already concerned about what CJ can do. So maybe they're just giving CJ and whoever the damn play caller is, defenses are all, like they're already on the radar. These other guys are at the quarterback spot are not as accomplished. So this is more about the coordinator and these other guys that aren't accomplished. So maybe this is a tip of the cap to CJ.
Yeah,
and we are thinking about it that way.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying originally.
And I like that point.
I think that's probably the way to put it. They'll be looking back on this list at the end of the season and saying that, hey, that was the play call duo that you should have been looking at. I'm calling my shot right now. Guys, we got another hour just blown by here.
My favorite people on a Friday.
What's your parting shots on a Friday as we say goodbye? John, you always have the shot glass, so we're just gonna let you start.
And you know what? I always will have the shot glass. Nothing in here,
Nothing in it.
What's my parting shot? Man, I have it's slow, y'all, and I like to keep it real. I just want y'all to have a good weekend. Texan fans, go out there, watch some old highlights, 2023 CJ, and see for that in 2025. But I would like to say this: slow grind is better than no grind, and I understand that we're in a slow news period, so let's not overreact too much. July's around the corner. We'll get to training camp, and it's extra fun around that time.
It looks like Stan made it to the end of the show.
Finally got sniped.
He made it to the end of the show.
And we keep the tradition going.
Oh my God, it's amazing. All right, Iisha, what do you got?
That's hilarious. Nah, man. Stay hydrated. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Check on your people. You never know what people are going through. And also, who's this gentleman? Who are you? Where are you at?
Stranger danger.
No, he's not a stranger dangerous. He's a fan in the
Oh, I
There
didn't know about
was
Stan popping back up in.
no, I ain't dealing with Stan. Corey Barrett, you said that maybe Jaire didn't want to be a backup, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe that.
Ah,
Maybe
the
it is
book.
one.
Yeah.
Could be
Why-
true. All right, Stan, your parting shot.
All right, now, damn it, T-Mobile, we done been through this. Now, you done sold me all these bleeping products. I done spent countless time dealing with your reps and IT department. Can a brother just get a stable connection? We've done everything that we can do. Hotspots, pucks, we got enhanced Wi-Fi. Damn, can a brother do a show? That's my parting shot. I hope y'all have better telecom over the weekend than I've had to start this program.
All right,
yo, got to the end.
Listen to Stan's fine words. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk again Tuesday for the Locked on Texans squad.